Hey, what's going on? My name is Vic. Hi. Welcome to the channel. So GoPro Hero 7 Black, so far it's been an amazing action camera. It's got some insane resolution. We're looking at 4K 60 it maxes out at. And the big thing for the GoPro Hero 7 is stabilization. It's got hyper smooth stabilization, which is just smooth. It's insane how smooth it gets. But there is also a photo option using HDR or WDR, wide dynamic range. And as GoPro call it, it's a super photo option. So it's promising better photos. But can you have a better photo than a DSLR, mirrorless camera, or even what you normally would have in your pocket? That's what I set to find out, because we're going to compare the GoPro Hero 7 Black with an iPhone 7 photography, and we're also going to take a look at it going up against the Sony RX 100 Mark V, which is a flagship camera. And just keep in mind, GoPro Hero 7 and the iPhone are both 12 megapixel cameras, and then on the Sony RX 100 Mark V, that is a 20.1 megapixel camera. So probably not fair to compare it with the Sony, but it's always good to see how good or bad things are. But would you really use a GoPro Hero 7 or any GoPro for photography? Let's find out. First location is St. Coleman's Cathedral in Cove. Sun is going down. We've got about 15 to 20 minutes left of sunlight, so it's golden hour. So we're going to see what this looks like on the Sony RX 100 Mark V. We're going to take a photo vertically. We're going to do a vertical shot on the iPhone, and we're also going to do one on the GoPro Hero 7 Black. The second shot is going to be kind of a close-up of the architecture, the doorway of the cathedral again, Sony RX 100 Mark V, iPhone 7 and the GoPro Hero 7 Black. Test the low light capability of the GoPro Hero 7 Black. We're going to do one inside the cathedral again with all three cameras. Next shot that I'm going to do is we're going to do horizontal. We're going to do a landscape style shot. We've got the sun going down over there, so we're going to see how all the cameras handle this. And again, we're looking at the quality of the wide dynamic range on the GoPro Hero 7 Black. Again, I have no idea how these are looking, but we're going to see them very shortly, so let's go. Now that I'm back, we can actually put these in the computer and we can take a look at the detail and how these look. And keep in mind, all of these are shot predominantly on automatic settings and they're not being touched up in any way, shape or form. This is Cove Cathedral, St. Coleman's. This is the RX 100, so we can see decent enough exposure here, and if we start zooming into 100%, we can see what the levels of detail are like. So we're at 100% here. Bricks are predominantly intact, which there's a lot of fine detail here. Clock face is starting to lose it a little bit around 11 and 12, but for the most part, really good. So let's move on to the iPhone. We've got a tighter kind of a crop here on the iPhone shot. Again, all of these are being shot from the same location. So let's start zooming in here to the clock face. We can see that there is a relatively good exposure of the sun hitting the top of the cathedral as it's going down. So we're now into 100%, and we can see the level of detail here is starting to really fade. But the 12 and the 11 on the clock face seem a little bit better than the RX 100. Now, what you've came for really, let's see how the GoPro holds up against these. This is the GoPro Hero 7 Black, and first impressions are wow. This is a wide angle shot. This is a great shot. The wide angle lens is amazing on the GoPro. That said, it can cause a couple of problems with a combination of GoPros not handling the highlights that well and the distortion on either side of the lens. So we can see there's a little bit of smearing here, although this isn't really the edge of the lens, so I'm guessing it's an issue with highlights. Down here we're losing a little bit of detail with blooming and smearing as well. But let's go in to 100%, and because it's a wide angle lens, I'm not expecting great things here from this shot. But yeah, I'm kind of right. The bricks here, the level of detail is kind of really just disintegrating into a big old muddy mess. Level of detail on the clock face isn't great, but you do have a far wider shot than the other ones. So depending on how you like to shoot your photos, this might be a huge positive. This is the front of the Cathedral. This is from the RX 100. Let's take a quick zoom into 100% and we can see how things are looking at the detail level. So the detail level, as you would expect from a 20.1 megapixel camera, is pretty good. So we can see that around the bricks here, the level of detail is fine, especially those fine lines. And if we zoom in any further, we are going to lose the finer details. Now jumping onto the iPhone, we've got a better balanced exposure initially from the iPhone, but if we start running into 100% on the zoom, we can see that the level of detail is starting to kind of disappear. We can see around the shadows here as well that it's starting to get a little bit noisy. So how does that mean for the GoPro? Well, first off, we have a really wide imposing image from the GoPro, and that's down to the wide angle lens. But if we look here on the bottom right and then the top left, we can see that kind of highlight bloom and that smearing happening. And if we start zooming in here to 100%, even though it's a wider shot, we can see again we're starting to lose a little bit of detail here. Shadows are kind of holding up, but the detail around the cracks and the bricks here, not amazing. All of that said though, this is a perfectly usable photograph, and I'll tell you where and why momentarily. But let's take a look at one or two more pictures. What about the low light scenario when it comes to the GoPro? How does it hold up internally inside in the Cathedral? Inside the Cathedral, this is the RX 100 Mark V. Let's start zooming into 100%. It's not the best exposure. It is getting quite noisy here in the shadows and we are losing some detail. So let's go right into 100% and we can see we've got a whole bunch of noise here. And yeah, you could kind of denoise it, but I think it would probably make it look a lot worse, but it's a raw file, so we can actually salvage some of the highlights and shadows back just a little bit. Moving on to the iPhone, we can see the iPhone is struggling with these lights here. Obviously, I know somebody saying, well, put a small ND filter on, maybe an ND4 and ND8, that'll kind of help with that, or a star filter. But if we start zooming in here and looking at 100% on the actual iPhone, we can see level of detail is not amazing compared to a completely well lit situation. So does that bode well or worse for the GoPro? Let's check it out. This is the GoPro. See, we can see this highlights here. GoPros and just do not handle highlights at all. We can see some smearing. If we start zooming in here, it's just a blur. It's just a mud field, really. It's awful. So again, zooming in, similar level of detail to the iPhone, but again, this stuff is perfectly usable. So what can you use it for? Well, if you're not planning on doing big billboards or gigantic posters, then the GoPro Hero 7, the photo mode, is completely perfect for any kind of social media, from Instagram, for Facebook, Snapchat, whatever you're doing with it, it's completely usable. Keep in mind, there's enough information in here that you can actually get a really good image out of it. With a little bit of work in Lightroom, and I'm talking like 5 minutes, you can get something like this. In an upcoming video, I'm going to show you how you can grade your GoPro photos, or indeed any photo for the likes of Instagram or whatnot. So overall, the GoPro Hero 7 Black, you're not going to go and buy a GoPro Hero 7 or any GoPro for photography. Let's face it, there's no aperture. You're not going to have any depth of field. There's no zoom as such. It's a digital zoom and it's awful. But if you're in a scenario where you don't have your phone or you don't have a camera, then it's completely usable. But you're probably never going to be in a scenario like that unless you don't have a waterproof phone or something, or you lose your phone. I can't see where the opportunities would arise where you would use a GoPro Hero 7 Black for photography. I know personally I would never use it, even though the image for social media is quite usable. Keep in mind though, with anything in GoPros, and because of the sensor size, you are going to get good results if you've got good lighting. If the lighting is crap, then ain't gonna happen. GoPro just doesn't have the sensor size to work in low light conditions. It's just low light on the GoPro sucks really bad. And nighttime, yeah, the camera doesn't work at nighttime. Overall, it's completely usable, but don't expect any great shakes, as I've said. So I hope you found this comparison video very useful. If you have, would you consider subscribing? The button is around there somewhere. And we will see you in the next episode of the vlog, which will be on Friday, usually at 8 p.m. GMT or 3 p.m. EST. And until then, please don't stop fighting for yourself.